There's a consequence to being unwelcoming. You may want that consequence, but it's going to be overbroad, and it's going to impact the kind of migration that this country survives on. It's important that we talk about lawful migration because our political debates tend to be focused on unlawful migration, or what we would call border crossings. The United States functions and survives on lawful migration. That would be either tourism or some sort of status visa. That's what we call them. It would be a student, an H-1B worker, someone who might be here for seasonal work in the summertime. Those visas all have different rules and different priorities, but those are considered lawful migration patterns that we want to welcome because we need them for a variety of reasons. One of the most interesting dynamics of lawful and unlawful migration is that if you listen to the political discourse in the United States, you would think, well, unlawfuls come through the border and lawful migration comes through other means. Most unlawful migrants in the United States now have come here under lawful status and just stayed. So they either came here on some sort of employment visa or some sort of student visa or even a tourism visa and then never left. The status of permanent residence is different because those are people who are committing to permanent lawful status eventually. The problem is, of course, all of our systems take a while. And so we really do view permanent residents as those who have made what we call a fundamental relationship with the United States. Both we consider them as part of the family, so to speak, and they consider themselves as part of the family. Many permanent lawful residents are en route to permanent status, passport holding, citizenship, and this is just the status that they're in. So really to think about immigration is really to think about it as, well, there's two different pools, unlawful and lawful, and then each of those has subsets of how they got here, how long they're going to be here, what are the conditions of their stay here. And the politics sometimes misidentifies them for political use, right? So someone here seeking asylum is here lawfully if they are seeking asylum and that's recognized by a court, but could be viewed as unlawful if they don't have their asylum status recognized by a court. I think the most helpful way to actually think about sort of the rights one has is, where are you asserting those rights? At the border, all of us have fewer rights. We really do. I mean, United States citizens cannot be deprived access to the United States, but you can be asked questions that you wouldn't normally be asked. Right? Where were you? Who are you staying with? Did you meet anyone? All sorts of things when you come in from another country. So the border is essentially where those rights are much more limited, and they are exceptionally limited for immigrants or anyone on a status. So a student who has a visa to be here but is a foreign student has very few rights when they enter the United States. So much so that we now have countries telling people it doesn't matter if you have your visa. We cannot guarantee you entry into the United States. That Customs and Border Patrol official has tremendous authority over non-U.S. citizens at the border. It's not a right, it's a privilege, and someone can take it away and you don't get due process, period. If you're in the United States, that's where the debate is occurring, right? And that's where some of the really hard stuff going on right now is, which is, what rights does someone have to due process to stop a government action against them? And that's going to depend on their status. So a U.S. citizen, obviously, lots of rights, right? The ones that we understand. Permanent lawful resident, pretty close to a citizen. Various visa standards, a little bit more difficult. You're seeing that with students. Are there conditions to their status here, international students, that allows them to be deported without due process? I will say this is relatively new in the courts because generally, if we had a problem, say, with a student who maybe did a crime, you would simply say to them, you no longer have your visa, leave. There's a performative nature to a lot of these issues going on in the United States right now, taking students who aren't violent and surrounding them with ICE agents or whisking people out in the middle of the night. There is a certain performative aspect to that that doesn't really align with the law. And that's why you're seeing all these cases end up in court. They want a fight. So one of the things that the Trump administration wants is they want people to engage federal law enforcement. That then helps them with this narrative that this is sort of a lawless country. They want to up the movie. And part of that is this performative nature. They know everything is being recorded. You have to take an honest sense of your risk calculation, because it's not zero. And I think that's what we're all sort of coming to terms with. I used to never think about this, and now I do. So that means that the risk is not zero about how we move in and out of this country and what we carry with us when we do travel and what our obligations are.